5 things she says when a woman cheats on you. If you hear these words, it's time to pay attention. They could reveal the truth behind her betrayal. The last statement is often the most revealing, and ignoring it could leave you in denial. Don't let yourself be blindsided. Subscribe now to understand the signs and protect your heart. I need space. A simple phrase, uttered countless times in relationships. But in the frozen wasteland of a heart grown cold, these words can echo with a chilling finality. When a woman utters these words, she may be signaling a deeper emotional detachment. Like a ship pulling away from the dock, she's creating distance, seeking room to maneuver, perhaps to explore feelings for someone else without the weight of your shared history anchoring her down. This need for space isn't always about infidelity, of course. Stress, personal struggles, even the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship can lead to a desire for solitude. But when coupled with other changes in her behavior, a shift in her gaze, a reluctance to share her thoughts and feelings, these 3 words can be a harbinger of a love lost at sea. Imagine, if you will, a lone penguin separated from its mate, adrift on a vast, unforgiving ice floe. The bond, once strong, is stretched thin by distance and uncertainty. The once unbreakable connection now hangs by a thread, vulnerable to the chilling winds of doubt and the relentless pull of the unknown. So, how do you navigate these treacherous emotional waters? The first step is to listen. Truly listen to what she's not saying. Observe her actions, her body language. Is she truly seeking space for introspection, or is she distancing herself from you and your shared life? Remember, communication is key. If you hear these words, don't panic, but don't ignore them either. Engage in an open and honest conversation, expressing your concerns and your desire to understand her needs. Like the emperor penguin, enduring the harshest winter to protect its young, you too must fight for the survival of your love, but do so with wisdom and compassion. Ah, the age-old deflection, a phrase as worn as the feathers on a penguin after a long winter. It's not you, it's me. We've all heard it, perhaps even uttered it ourselves. While it may seem like a cliché, a convenient script for a painful breakup, these words often mask a deeper truth. A truth she may not even be fully aware of herself. When a woman utters this phrase, she's attempting to shift the blame, to paint herself as the sole architect of the relationship's demise. But beneath this facade of self-recrimination lies a more complex reality. She may indeed feel inadequate, unfulfilled, or lost in the labyrinthine corridors of her own heart. And in her search for validation, for a sense of self-worth, she may have strayed from the path of fidelity. Think of the penguin colony, a bustling community of individuals striving for survival. Amidst the throng, a penguin may feel unseen, unheard, its unique song lost in the cacophony. It's in these moments of vulnerability that the allure of the unfamiliar, the promise of being truly seen by another, can prove irresistible. Now, this doesn't excuse infidelity. It simply offers a glimpse into the complex interplay of emotions that can lead to such a betrayal. When you hear these words, it's crucial to remember that while she may be deflecting blame, she's also expressing a deep-seated need. A need for understanding, for validation, for a love that makes her feel whole. So how do you respond to such a loaded statement? First, resist the urge to become defensive or to engage in a blame game. Instead, approach the conversation with empathy and a genuine desire to understand her perspective. Ask open-ended questions, creating a safe space for her to voice her feelings and insecurities. Chapter 3. I didn't mean for it to happen. These words, often spoken with a trembling voice and tear-filled eyes, can be incredibly disarming. They speak to a lack of control, a sense of being swept away by forces beyond one's understanding. But while they may elicit sympathy, it's crucial to recognize that they also reveal a lack of accountability, a minimization of her actions. When a woman utters this phrase, she's attempting to distance herself from the consequences of her choices. It's a way of saying, "This wasn't my fault, it just happened." But infidelity, like any other conscious decision, doesn't simply happen. It's a series of choices, each one leading further down a path of betrayal. Imagine, if you will, the emperor penguin's arduous journey across the frozen wasteland. They face blizzards, predators, and bone-chilling temperatures, all in pursuit of a mate and the chance to create life. They don't simply stumble into parenthood. It's a deliberate and arduous undertaking. Similarly, infidelity doesn't occur by accident. It's a deliberate act, a conscious decision to seek emotional or physical intimacy outside the bounds of a committed relationship. When a woman says, "I didn't mean for it to happen," she's attempting to absolve herself of responsibility, to paint herself as a victim of circumstance rather than the author of her own actions. So, how do you respond to such a statement without getting caught in the web of denial? First, recognize that while her words may be an attempt to minimize her betrayal, they also reveal a deeper struggle, a struggle with impulse control, with rationalizing harmful behavior, or perhaps with a fear of taking responsibility for her actions. Chapter 4. We've been distant lately. With these words, she casts a spotlight on the cracks in the foundation of your relationship, on the growing chasm that's come to separate you. And while she's not entirely wrong, distance can breed discontent and vulnerability. It's crucial to recognize that she's also subtly shifting the blame, implying that her actions were a direct result of your shared shortcomings. When a woman utters this phrase, she's acknowledging a problem, but she's framing it in a way that deflects responsibility. It's a way of saying, if only you had been more present, more attentive, more emotionally available, then maybe I wouldn't have sought solace elsewhere. Think of the penguin colony during mating season. Pairs huddle close, their calls a symphony of devotion amidst the icy wilderness. But imagine if one penguin, feeling neglected or unseen, were to stray from its mate, seeking warmth and connection in the embrace of another. Would the blame lie solely with the distant partner, or would the straying penguin share responsibility for its actions? Infidelity is never a black and white issue. It's a complex tapestry woven from threads of unmet needs, unspoken desires, and individual choices. When a woman points out the distance in your relationship as a justification for her infidelity, it's crucial to remember that while distance can create vulnerability, it doesn't absolve anyone of responsibility for their actions. So, how do you navigate this treacherous terrain? First, acknowledge the validity of her observation. Yes, there may have been distance between you, a disconnect that created fertile ground for infidelity to take root. But also, make it clear that while you acknowledge her feelings, you don't accept them as a justification for her choices. Chapter 5. I love you, but I needed something more. These words, often spoken with a heart-wrenching mix of affection and regret, cut to the very core of a relationship. They acknowledge the love that still exists, while simultaneously revealing its limitations, its inability to fulfill her every need. This statement is perhaps the most complex and nuanced of all the phrases we've explored. It's not a blatant lie, nor is it a simple justification. It's an admission that while her love for you is real, it's not enough to sustain the relationship, at least not in its current form. Think of the penguin, a creature of both land and sea. It needs the solid ground to nest, to raise its young, but it also needs the vast ocean to hunt, to explore, to fulfill its primal instincts. One cannot exist without the other. Similarly, love, in all its complexities, often requires more than just affection and companionship. It requires shared values, intellectual stimulation, emotional intimacy, and a deep sense of fulfillment. When a woman says, "I love you, but I needed something more," she's expressing a fundamental truth about her needs, her desires, and her vision of a fulfilling partnership. So, how do you begin to process such a loaded statement? First, resist the urge to become defensive or to try to convince her that you can be enough. Instead, approach the conversation with an open mind and a genuine desire to understand her perspective. And so, we reach the end of our exploration. Much like the penguin returning to the colony after a perilous journey, we've navigated the treacherous terrain of infidelity, uncovering the hidden meanings behind her words. Remember, my friends, love, like the natural world, is rarely predictable, often messy, and always evolving. Just as the penguin endures harsh winters and treacherous journeys to find its mate, we too must face the challenges of love with courage, wisdom, and an open heart. The path may be long, the winds may howl, but the journey, my friends, the journey continues.